All right, we're going to be talking about contactless payments on the African continent and the ability to scale those contactless payments. What kind of infrastructure is needed for that to happen? What is the role of the public sector and what is the role of the private sector? We've got a member of the private sector joining us right now, Kari Tukur, who is the Vice President, Head of Customer Solutions East West Africa for Mastercard. She joins us from Lagos. Good morning to you, Kari. Thank you so much for joining us. So, the ecosystem, technology, contactless payments, it is December. We are at the end of the year. Looking back, how would you say the technologies ecosystem as far as the African continent has fared? Maybe if you want to focus on Nigeria. What's your take?
Thank you, Rotus. Good morning, and thanks for having me. Nigerian financial and digital ecosystem has gone through a lot of changes and development over the last couple of years, driven by innovative use of the emerging technologies that we've seen, and most importantly, the actions of our regulators in really driving financial inclusion. We know that Nigeria is very dynamic, very boisterous, a thriving entrepreneurial culture. We remain, one of the largest economies in Africa. We have a high mobile phone and internet penetration. And when we look at the youth and the young adult demographic, which constitutes 70% of the population, it really is the sort of demographic that drives digital adoption that is necessary for the distribution of financial services. And when we look at the actions of the regulator, the central bank has implemented quite a number of policies and supported in the deployment of certain initiatives that have really strengthened the digital ecosystem. Policies like, the open banking mandate, the framework that governs contactless, the licensing of a lot of PSBs, and even the setting up of SANEF, which really helps to drive digital services penetration. And then solutions like instant payments, which is driven by NIBS, it remains one of the largest real-time payment volumes that we're seeing globally, right? So there's a lot that is going on in Nigeria where it comes to digital payments. But even with all of that advancement in mobile and digital technology penetration, we've seen that there's still quite a significant number of Nigerians that are still financially excluded. We saw vulnerabilities during the height of COVID, and even more recently, when demonetization happened earlier in February, we saw that a lot of SMEs and consumers were unable to make payments and receive payments in the absence of cash. Fintechs have grown. We've seen over 200 fintechs in the market, but what the challenge here is that the ecosystem is very fragmented, it's very complex, and there's still a lot of players that are operating in silos. And what we think will take us to the next level is when that ecosystem comes together and we start to really leverage capability of each other. Better utility of emerging technology and also collaboration, I think, will really help us get to the next level when it comes to building a more resilient and sustainable digital ecosystem for the millions of Nigerians out there.
So how about the adoption of contactless payments, as far as the evolution in Nigeria and your role at Mastercard that you guys have played in that?
So we're starting to see contactless really gaining momentum in Nigeria. You will notice that even the BRT buses today have started to implement a touch and pay type technology, leveraging the Kari card, for example. Contactless can be seen in multiple forms. There's the card-enabled contactless payment that allows you to tap your card and make a payment. And there's also the QR for those who don't have the sophisticated smartphones and require a low-cost, no-frills type of contactless transaction. So for us, it's really about meeting the demand of the consumer for fast, secure, and reliable way of making the payment, and taking into account the fact that there are different levels of sophistication where the mobile phone is concerned, and also levels of technological advancements when you compare urban areas to the rural areas. So Nigeria is starting to see adoption. We rolled out a new product in the market called tap on phone, and tap on phone really democratizes the mobile phone and converts it into a contactless device for your micro and small merchants. And within the first quarter of launching this product, we saw a huge adoption of over almost 500,000 SMEs jump on board. So there's a lot more that it needs to happen in terms of penetration, and we're really getting the support of the central bank with, you know, the implementation of the contactless guidelines that has defined the transaction limits and really created those security barriers around how to make sure that contactless is good for everybody in the ecosystem.
So what about security? Can you talk about what Mastercard is doing to, you know, as far as elaborating on the security features to protect users of contactless payments?
And we've worked very closely with the government in defining what those contactless transaction limits should be. In Nigeria, the maximum per transaction limit for contactless payment is 15,000 naira, and cumulative for the day is 50,000 naira. Any transaction above those limits will require a PIN, and our contactless payment technology supports PIN authentication. We've then taken it one step further in introducing what we call tokenization. It's a step that allows a customer to take their physical plastic and actually digitize it on a mobile wallet, and then we then take the digital form of that plastic and create tokens that are transferred during the course of a contactless transaction. Now, with the mobile phone, you also have the added advantage of biometric authentication. So whether it be your fingerprint or facial recognition, that further authenticates the transaction before it can actually be fulfilled. So we've got that tokenization capability inbuilt. We also have really sophisticated fraud monitoring tools that allows us to look at behavioral transaction patterns from, you know, what type of device are you using? So the device that you registered your card with versus the device that is actually initiating the transaction. We're able to pick up on those transaction indices and cut those transactions before it happens. We look at how you're transacting. If it says that you're in Nigeria, but a recent transaction happened in another part of town or in another country, we're able to pick that up. So we pick up all those transaction indicators and make sure that we protect that ecosystem. These are some of the examples with which we've been able to protect contactless transactions in Nigeria.
Great stuff. All right, just one more question for you. How do you see 2024? I mean, we're asking all our guests for their outlook. I guess your outlook for the tech ecosystem, advancement of contactless payments in Nigeria. What can we see from 2024? You're going to maybe give us a big scoop.
No, I think 2024 is going to be a very exciting year for the payment ecosystem. The Minister for Digital Economy has already laid down a very interesting 5-point agenda that really supports the growth of the digital ecosystem. Mastercard is working very actively and collaboratively with different players within the market, from the government to telcos to fintechs and to financial institutions, to really bring in very innovative and creative solutions that will help extend digital payments beyond where it is today. A contactless will definitely take form. Like I said, we've rolled out tap on phone in the market. We are working with banks like FCMB, Zenith Bank, UBA, and a whole host of others in terms of how we scale the solution. We are layering on top of it very sophisticated and high-level fraud security measures to ensure that we protect the ecosystem, because as you know, with the advancements in technology, we also know that the bad actors are also doubling down on their efforts. So we need to make sure that the ecosystem is safe. It's going to be very exciting for everybody. I think digital inclusion and financial inclusion is going to grow next year, and we're all looking forward to how that pans out.
Great stuff. I can tell you I'm excited. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. Kari Tukur, Vice President, Head Customer Solutions, East West Africa, Mastercard. Appreciate you very much.